Hi everyone, my name's Chrissy. It's really nice to be here with you virtually today and bring you a little yoga practice that you can do perhaps in the morning, at lunch, in the evening, whenever you like. It's a short little class, so it won't take too much of your time, and you can kind of dip in and out. You can just do a little bit if you want and then come back to it later if you prefer. So before we get started, please make sure that you are fit and ready to exercise. So if you have any medical conditions, any worries, you need to speak to your GP about that first, because obviously I've never met you. I can't check your medical conditions and that you're okay to exercise. So please make sure you take responsibility for your health in this way. You're going to need today, ideally you want a mat. If you don't have a mat though, you can actually use just a towel, just something to stop your hands from slipping on the mat is great. You might want some water next to you. You might also want maybe a hardback book, so a thick hardback book. You can sit on the book and it will just lift your hips up a little bit. You might also want a cushion, and you might want a blanket as well for the end to cover you. So once you've got everything, you've cleared your space, we're going to get started. We're going to get started today in Shavasana. So Shavasana is the thing that we do at the end normally, but actually it's quite nice to start here sometimes. So you're going to let the feet fall out to the side, the palms face up to the ceiling, just resting back on the mat, on the floor. Closing down the eyes if that feels okay to you. And just begin to breathe here in your Shavasana. So breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. What we're trying to do here is just begin to come to the present moment, settle into the body. Sometimes our minds can be in the future or the past, thinking about what we've got to do later or what we did yesterday or earlier in the day. So this is just bringing everything back to the present moment. And now as you start to breathe in and out with a bit more awareness, think about maybe how the body expands as you inhale, how the body fills with oxygen. And then as you exhale, notice how everything relaxes, everything melts down, and notice how your body melts down more into the earth, onto the mat. You might feel the ribs expand, the shoulders lift, the belly rise and fall. If you can now, I just want you to try and lengthen the breath a little bit. So lengthen the inhale and lengthen the exhale. All the while feeling that melting sensation into the earth. Beautiful work, everyone. Okay, really slowly, I want you to bend your knees. Give yourself a big hug, and then when you're ready, you're just going to lift your legs up nice and gently towards the sky. They can be bent, they don't have to be straight. And then you're going to lift your arms up as well. We're just going to take some circles with the wrists and the ankles. This can be especially nice if you're sat at a computer typing a lot. Our wrists actually go through a lot of stuff during the day, and we don't normally, wrist self-care isn't really a thing, is it? So this can be quite nice. Going the other way now, all the while still thinking about that conscious breath, the inhales and the exhales. Really nice, everyone, keep going. Maybe there might be a little gentle ache here in the wrists and the ankles. And now we're going to just give everything a nice little shake. And you can choose how vigorous you do the shake. If you've just woken up, maybe you're just feeling, oh no, I'm just going to do it nice and gently. And if you're at your lunch break, maybe you do it a little bit more vigorously. Just getting some new blood, new oxygen into the body. Very nice. Bring these into the chest once more. And we're going to very gently roll over onto our right hand side. very gently maybe resting the head on the right arm. And then when you're ready, very gently bring yourself up into a seated position. So you can face the top of your mat, but I'm just going to face you so you can see me. We're just going to take a few little gentle stretches for the neck. So what I want you to do is lean your neck over to one side. If this feels okay for you and you feel like you can go a bit further, rest your hand away from the neck, so the opposite side to where your neck's stretching, and take the other hand and just very gently drape it over the head. And what that will do is it will just add a little bit of weight onto the head, onto the stretch. You can close down the eyes here or maybe keep a soft gaze. Sometimes closing down the eyes can make us feel sleepy, so it's okay if you want to keep them open. And then very gently taking the arm down, bringing the head all the way back to centre, straight over to the other side. So staying here if you want, or taking that other arm, draping it over the head. Again, stretching out the neck and the shoulders, really important, especially if we're working from home. Beautiful job, everyone. Very gently release the arm down, bring the head back into centre. Lovely. Okay, so facing forwards on your mat now. You're going to bring your hands down and just walk your feet out so that you come to a tabletop position. So tabletop position, you're kind of imagining that your back is a table, and then I want you to think about shoulders over your wrists and hips over your knees. So you're in quite a nice little square rectangular position. Now from here, we're going to inhale, lift the body, lift the chest. And then exhale, we're going to round into the back. So we're moving through a cat-cow stretch. And we're going to move through it really slowly and mindfully. Seeing if you can inhale as you lift and exhale as you round. This is a really nice way to get into the spine, whether you're doing this in the morning, lunch or evening. Beautiful job. One more round. Inhaling, lift all the way up. Exhaling, rounding down. Beautiful, well done. Come back to your tabletop position. Just a little bit more of a stretch for the wrist. We're going to take the wrist round, outside and then towards you. Now you can do this one at a time, or you can do them both at the same time. So if it feels too much for you doing this, just do one at a time and swap over. So what you're going to do is just very gently rock the weight back and then bring it forwards again. And you'll feel, it can be quite an intense stretch on the wrist, especially if you don't normally do this stretch, which, let's face it, we don't normally do this stretch. And you can take this really slowly. You don't want to go too fast here, nice and slowly. And it doesn't need to be a big movement either. It can be really slow, really mindful. And remember, you've got that option to do it one at a time and swap over if you prefer. Beautiful job, everyone. Bringing the wrists back round now. Spread the fingers out. So really spread them out as if you were doing like jazz hands. Really stretch them out. Beautiful. And then you're going to tuck the toes under, and we're going to move back to downward facing dog now. So tucking the toes under, pressing the hands into the floor, and then lifting the hips, lifting the knees. And we're coming down to this sort of triangular shape on our mat. Now I'll just say here that if you feel like you're sort of around here because you're trying to get your legs straight, don't worry about getting the legs straight. Take a nice deep bend in the knees and then lengthen out the spine, because what we're trying to do here in our downward dog is really lengthen through the spine, create nice lot of length. So once you're here, you can pedal out the feet. So pedaling out the feet, you bend into one knee, into one foot, straighten out the other. So pushing them into the floor, bringing the other one up. Very nice. And then when you're ready, begin to come to find some stillness. Bend the knees, come high onto the tippy toes, look forward. And then we're walking towards the top of the mat here, finishing with our feet hip width distance apart. You're going to take a nice bend in the knees here, and we're thinking about getting our chest to our knees. So a lot of times when we do this pose, I see a lot of people try and straighten into the legs again and not think about the spine. We're really thinking about lengthening the spine here. So you're going to lengthen the spine down, and you can either drop the hands down, or I would suggest, if you've been working on a computer a lot, interlace the hands behind the back and then stretch the arms away from you if you can. Let gravity begin to take them down. Focus on your breathing here. Don't forget about your breathing. One more deep breath here. Beautiful. Very gently release the grip of the hands, and then very slowly, head is the last thing to come up. We're rolling all the way up to standing, all the way up. And once we're there, we're going to take a nice big shoulder roll all the way back and down the body. Take one more, you deserve it, all the way back and down. Beautiful job, everyone. Okay, so you've got the option here. You can keep the feet apart if you like, or you can bring the feet together. It doesn't really matter. It'll feel a little bit different in the body, but it's absolutely fine. I quite like in the morning to have my feet apart because it just feels quite nice and relaxed. So we're going to inhale. We're going to bring the hands all the way up over the head. Maybe take a little stretch here, lengthening out the body. And then we're going to begin to fall forward. So we're bending from the hips here. And we're going to bend the knees as much as we need to bring our hands down to the floor or just down to our shins. If you can get them down to the floor, that's great. And tucking the chin underneath as well. Inhale, halfway lift. So we're going to begin to straighten out the legs this time. Bring our hands onto our shins and just sort of push the chest forward a little bit. So we're feeling a nice little stretch in the hamstrings. And we're opening through that chest, that collarbone. Bend the knees, plant the hands. We're going to step back to a plank position. So plank position, nice and strong. Get everything nice and engaged, pushing the heels back towards the back wall, engaging the tummy. And then on our exhale, we're going to lower down, drop the knees, and then the chest and the chin all the way down to the floor. Once you're here, you're scooping forward using the power of your arms into your baby cobra. So your baby cobra, you're trying to really engage the legs. So push the tops of the toes into the floor and then really squeeze the back muscle. So if you lift your hands off, you can stay where you are. Beautiful work, everyone. Tuck the toes, push back. And we're coming to downward facing dog, just holding for a few breaths. Now, if downward facing dog doesn't agree with you, if you feel like, do you know what, I'm just not in the mood today, drop the knees down. And you can come to Balasana, child's pose, dropping the forehead to the mat. Or you can even come to a nice seated meditation position, just breathing in and out. So when you're ready, everyone make their way back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, come high onto the tippy toes, look forward, and then step to the top of the mat. So nice big steps to the top of the mat. We're bringing our halfway lift in again, so stretching forward, stretching the hamstrings, opening the heart nice and forward and open. Exhale, we're emptying down and folding, bending the knees as much as we need. Inhale, we're rolling all the way back up, bringing the arms overhead, squeezing the bum and the belly, maybe a little stretch here at the top, and then bringing the hands back down to heart center. So that's your sun salutation A. So if you hear anyone in the yoga world or in a yoga class say sun A's, that's what we mean. So we're going to do a few more of those. We're going to speed it up a little bit. So inhale, lift the arms up to the sky, gaze up at thumbs. And then exhale, folding forward, bending the knees as much as you need to, folding from the hips here, lower down into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, squeeze the belly in now, engage the belly a little bit. Step back to plank, hold it in your plank, and then again we're going to lower down, we're lowering the knees, chest and the chin all the way down to the floor. Using the hands, scoop yourself forward to your baby cobra. Now think about clipping the elbows in here whilst you're pushing your feet into the floor. Tuck the toes back, push back into downward facing dog. We've got a few breaths here. Remember, you've got your child's pose or your seated meditation if you want it. And remember to bend those knees and straighten into the spine. You want to prioritize the spine here. So if you feel like you're kind of quite far forward in the space because you're trying to stretch out your legs, bend your knees, straighten the spine, and then begin to straighten your legs out as much as you can. Come high onto the tippy toes, look forward, and then step towards the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, empty down and fold. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Now push your feet into the floor. Really feel that connection with the earth. Bring the arms up. And then exhale, bring the hands into heart center. Just take a moment here. Feel the breath, the heat that you've built in the body. Let's go one more time. Now you can go a bit faster than me if you want, or a bit slower. You don't have to go with my counts. I'm just here to guide you. So we're inhaling, lifting our arms up to the sky. Big stretch here. And then exhaling, folding all the way down. Tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, halfway lift, squeeze the belly in. Exhale, plant the hands, step back to plank. Maybe take an inhale in your plank. Now you've got an option here. You can either carry on with your knees, chest, chin, or you can begin to roll the shoulders forward, come halfway down to your Chaturanga Dandasana, and then you tuck the toes under to come into your upward facing dog. So that just takes a little bit more energy. So if you feel like you want to conserve that energy, roll back to downward facing dog. Then just stick with your knees, chest, chin for now. You can build up to your Chaturangas. Let's just take a few breaths in our downward facing dog and just imagine that I've got your hip creases and I'm just very gently lifting you up towards the sky. So in your downward facing dog, you're really feeling a little bit of lift in the hips, and that will help to lengthen the spine out as well. Bend the knees, look forward, come high onto the tippy toes, and then step towards the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, feel a nice stretch in the hamstrings. Exhale, folding all the way down. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Bring the hands into heart center. And just close down the eyes here. Maybe take a few shoulder rolls. Just thinking about how the body feels. Beautiful job, everyone. Really, really nice. Okay, so this time we're going to move into Sun Salutation Bees, or a variation of them. So what I want you to do is inhale, sit low as if you're sitting into a chair, but you're sitting into a really nice chair and for some reason your arms are open. So think about really sitting back. Now if you look down, you should be able to see your toes. If you can't see your toes, your weight is probably too far forward. So think about pushing those hips back. If you're very tired today, think about sitting on a bar stool rather than a low stool. So give yourself a little break. Exhale, folding forward all the way down. Tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, flow through your vinyasa. So your vinyasa is your knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Your baby cobra or your upward facing dog. And then we all meet back in downward facing dog. Beautiful job, everyone. Okay, so we're inhaling the right leg behind us into the sky. Now it doesn't need to be high. It can literally be just off the floor, or it can go a little bit higher. It's up to you. We're going to bring that knee in towards the chest and step it lightly in between the hands. If it doesn't quite reach, use your hand and bring it up towards the mat. Now we're going to lift into a high lunge here, so make sure the legs are active, and then we're going to take it really slowly with the arms, imagining that we've got something really precious in our arms, or that we're lifting Simba from the Lion King. So coming into our high crescent lunge here, so you might feel a stretch on the psoas muscle in the hips. And you're thinking here about bringing that right hip back, left hip forward, so you're squaring off the hips. You're going to set the back heel down onto the floor, split the room in half, and come into your warrior two. Now,
stay where you are. I'm just turning around so that I can see you. You can see me, sorry. So with your warrior two, it's quite an open position. In fact, it's really open. It's just your head that looks forward. So hips are nice and open. We're thinking about that front knee tracking out. So if the knee starts to roll forward, really think about pushing it out to the side. And then see if you can really deepen the bend in that front knee, unless there's any pain in the knee area. See if you can really deepen the bend there. And at the same time, you're pushing that back toe into the floor, squeezing the belly in, tucking the tailbone under, rolling the shoulders away from the ears. So much to think about in this one pose. Take one more breath where you are. Flip the front palm so it's facing upwards. Let the back arm fall to the back leg and then lift up into your peaceful warrior. So just breathe here. If it hurts the neck to look at the top arm, you can just let the head fall down to the side or just let it hang in the air, whatever feels good for you. And you're really thinking about up here rather than back. So thinking about an upward motion in that stretch. Beautiful job, guys. Okay, so we're going to windmill the arms all the way down, and then we're going to drop that back knee down now, so that you're dropping the left knee down onto the floor. Your right foot is in front. We're going to inhale and lift up into your low lunge. This is a really nice position here for you to start to feel a little bit of engagement in the thigh and the hip. Now you can untuck the toe if that feels nice for you, and you can come forwards, but try not to let the knee fall too far out over the toes. Take 2 more breaths here. Beautiful job. Bring the arms down. Step back to your plank. Flow through your vinyasa, or you can skip it. So your knees, chest, chin, upward facing dog, baby cobra. And then everyone meet back in downward facing dog when they're ready. And then everyone just drop to the knees and either come to a child's pose or a seated meditation position. Just taking a moment to notice how the body feels. Now it's been stretched on that one side. Does it feel a bit out of balance? Don't worry, we're going to do the other side. When you're ready, very slowly come back to downward facing dog. We're going on the left hand side now. So inhale, take the left leg into the air behind you. Exhale, bending from the knee, bring it in between the chest, step it lightly between the hands. Keep the feet active and then lifting Simba up all the way up into your high crescent lunge. Once you're there, thinking about pulling that left hip back, right hip forward this time, leveling out the hips. Thinking about engaging the tummy. And then when you're ready, setting that back heel down, splitting the room in half, coming into your warrior two once more. So again, thinking about tucking the tailbone under, nice deep bend in that front knee, and thinking about pushing that knee out towards the little toe on the front foot rather than letting it rock in. When you're ready, flip the front palm so it faces upwards. Let the back arm rest on the back leg and lift up to your peaceful warrior. If you can, try and deepen the bend in the knee here. We tend to, when we lift up, we're like, oh, just lift the knee a little bit too, but try and deepen the bend here if you can. One more breath. Beautiful job, everyone. Okay, windmill the arms down. And then drop that right knee down to the floor this time. You can untuck the back toe or keep it tucked under. We're lifting up into our low lunge. So remember, you can let the knee come forward a little bit, but ideally you don't want it to kind of look like the knee is coming too far over the foot, because that can put a little bit of extra pressure on the knee. We don't need that. We don't need any extra pressure at the moment. Beautiful work, everyone. Keep breathing. Bring the arms down. Step back, flow through your vinyasa or skip it. So your knees, chest, chin, or your chaturanga. your baby cobra, upward facing dog, and everyone meet back in downward facing dog. And just take a few breaths here in your downward facing dog. And then when you're ready, everyone take the knees down, come back to child's pose. Now if this child's pose doesn't work for you, you can open the knees out wide, and that will be a bit nicer for the hips. You can also just come onto your hands here, or you can come onto your forearms if you can't quite get the head all the way down. So just any sort of restful position. Obviously you've got your seated meditation. Just close down the eyes here, take a few slow inhales and exhales. Really nice, everyone. Okay, we're going to come into a puppy stretch. So puppy stretch is another really nice one if you've been working at an office. So you're going to walk the hands forward out into your tabletop position again, and then this time you're keeping the hips high, but you're walking the hands forward and bringing the chest down to the floor. You can bring a cushion underneath the chest if that feels better, and then you're lowering your forehead onto the floor, and you're feeling a nice stretch underneath in your armpits, side of the arms, top of the arms, side of the body in the back. So you're really trying to feel a nice stretch all the way down the arms. You can't feel anything. What might have happened is you might have taken your hips a bit too far back and come into more of a child's pose. So bring the hips forwards again and then stretch the arms out. You've got one more breath in your puppy stretch. Really nice, deep, nourishing breath. Beautiful. Okay, so walking the hands as gracefully as you can back in. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, so we're going to just sit on one side and swing our legs out to the front here. Scooch forward a little bit in your space or on your mat. And now we're going to take a nice, easy seated forward fold. So it's going to be quite easy. We're going to bring the knees up to a nice deep bend here. So unless you're very hypermobile or really stretchy, you can just bring the knees up to a bent position. If you are very flexible, you can keep the legs straight if you want. So we're going to inhale, lift the arms, create lots of space in the upper body, and then exhale, we're folding over the legs, and we're just seeing if we can let the head rest on the knees. Now if you're sort of still about here, that's absolutely fine. What I'd suggest is maybe just coming onto the forearms here, or just wherever you can so that your head is supported. The head's the heaviest part of the body, so sometimes when we're sort of just hanging out with the neck, we're putting a lot of tension on it, and then obviously we're taking that into the rest of our day. So if you can, let the head really relax. That would be great. Beautiful job, everyone. Okay, very slowly rolling all the way up. And we're going to roll right down onto our backs and make sure you've got enough room. Really slowly, we're going to roll down for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Lovely, very, very nice. Okay, so we're going to come into one back bend. So we're going to come into a bridge pose. Now if you don't want to do this bridge pose, that's absolutely fine. You can just bring the knees into the chest, give yourself a nice little hug. If you're doing bridge, you're planting the hands on the floor, planting the soles of the feet on the floor, and you're bringing the toes so they're just slightly pigeon-toed, they're slightly facing in towards each other. Squeeze the bum, squeeze the belly, and then lift all the way up into your bridge, keeping a little bit of space between the chin and the chest. Now this is perfect, you can stay here, or you can begin to roll the shoulders underneath the body and interlace the hands underneath you, just for a little bit more lift. Take 2 more deep breaths here. You can close down the eyes if that feels nice. Very gently release the grip of the hands, slowly rolling down back onto the mat. And then you can just very gently windscreen wiper the legs from side to side, just dropping the knees from side to side. Lovely. Okay, so bringing the knees into the chest once more. You're going to shift your hips over to the left and then let your knees drop over to the right hand side. Easy supine twist. You can either bring the arms out straight or you can cactus the arms if you don't have much room where you are. And you can take the gaze over away from that right leg. A nice place to close down the eyes here. If you get any pain when you're doing this, you can bring your cushion and bring it in between the thighs, and that will alleviate a little bit of pain in the lower back for most people. One more breath. And then when you're ready, very slowly making your way over to the other side, shifting the hips to the right, letting the knees fall over to the left. And maybe taking the gaze, the head over towards the right hand side now, away from the knees. Nice soft breaths here, still focusing on the breathing. Beautiful, coming back into centre. Give yourself a nice big squeeze, squeezing everything into the belly, into the centre. And then as you exhale, everything falls out and we come back to exactly where we started in our Shavasana. Take 3 clearing breaths here, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And again. Last time. Beautiful, well done everyone. I would recommend that you stay here for at least 2 minutes, but if you have the time, I would take 5 or even 10 minutes to rest here, just to let all the lovely yoga absorb into the body. This is the most important pose that we do, so if you can stay here as long as possible, that would be fantastic. I'm going to leave you here for now, so enjoy your lovely Shavasanas. It's been a pleasure teaching you. Thank you very much.